Hello and welcome to Case Closed. I'm Charlie Langton, your host. We'll soon go inside an actual courtroom in the Warren District Court to see a real small claims case in action. Now, under Michigan law, small claims cases may be brought by individuals seeking $3,000 in damages or less. Neither side may be represented by an attorney in small claims court, and the judge's decision is final. Now, let's take a look at the case of who pays the rent?
What are you asking for? Your Honor, I'm asking for $3,000, and that would include for rent, the water bill, and all the damages and repairs that had to be made in regards to this property. Initially, Satina Harrison, who was the brother of Steve Harrison, resided in the property. Steve Harrison, Antoinette Combs, and Carrie Davis agreed to take over her lease sometime in July of 2009. At that time, in July of 2009, Carrie Davis, Antoinette Combs, and Steve Harrison, Antoinette Combs and Steve Harrison did not appear, and a default judgment will hopefully enter against them, and as for the $3,000 that is prayed for in my complaint. Carrie Davis and Antoinette Combs and Steve Harrison all agreed to pay me $600 per month while they resided in the property. As it turned out, they left sometime in April. They literally left in the middle of the day. It just so happened my son and I were checking on the property, and we found them packing up whatever they could, including my refrigerator, and took it to the address at 20141 Lake Worth, Roseville, Michigan. We literally followed them right to the new place where they took all their belongings that they wanted to take. I can indicate to the court that I'm only asking for $3,000. It may be at least, I know it's a minimum of 5 months, could be 6 months, but I know for 5 months, and it was from the period of time of October through March. October through March, they did not pay rent.
October of last year through March of this year?
October 2009 through March of 2010. And I can indicate to you that Kerry Davis, just before we started court today, he admitted to me that the utilities were in his name. And I can indicate to the court that I personally observed him in the house, sleeping in the house with Antoinette Combs, his mother, and Steve Harrison, who was living with his mother and also the sister of the previous tenant. So I'm asking for a judgment amount of $3,000 for those 5 months. I can also indicate to the court that they left me with a water bill. The City of Warren, and there's any landlords out there, is that the City of Warren does not inform the landlord. They send it to the occupant, and unfortunately it becomes a lien on the property. They never paid the water bill, and they have a policy of not turning off the water. So I was left with an $800 water bill during the quarters in which, because they bill on a quarterly basis now, that they left and I am stuck with. I do not have it in front of me, or I'd ask for it, but I can indicate to the court as an officer of the court. Secondly, and probably more importantly, they left the place in shambles. The kitchen floor was demolished. I paid for the ceramic tile, and they said they would install it. They put it down, they never grouted it, they never installed it. I have from the City of Warren, when it was inspected, they also left approximately 50 logs. 50 logs along the side of the fence, logs that you would have in a fire, stumps that had to be removed. They attract rats, unfortunately, and so who was left to remove them? They also left a tent in the backyard. They also left a dog pen. There was chicken wire and about 8 pieces of boards where a dog would stay in. They left it there, and I literally had to get a dumpster, and I filled up a dumpster, but I could not have enough room to put all the items in the dumpster, and the logs had to be removed individually. I'm asking for $3,000 in rent jointly and severally against the 3 of them, since they're all responsible for it. I'm not asking for anything more in regards to the damages or the fact that they took my refrigerator, the fact that they didn't pay the water bill, and they probably owe me for more rent, but that's what I can indicate to the court under oath as an officer of the court. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, let's also call then Cecil D. St. Pierre Jr. versus Antoinette Combs, case number 108983. Is Antoinette Combs in the courtroom? Is Antoinette Combs in the courtroom? She is not present in the courtroom. This matter was set for a small claims hearing today at 2 o'clock p.m. The time is now I'm sorry, 1 o'clock p.m. was set for. The time is now 2:11 p.m. The record should indicate that Antoinette Combs was mailed a notice to appear for this small claims hearing on October 12th. The defendant failing to appear, the court will enter a default judgment in favor of the plaintiff in this matter in the amount of $3,000. The court will add to that cost consisting of a $65 filing fee and a $27 service fee, bringing the total amount of the judgment to $3,092. The court then will also call strike that, the court will call the case of Cecil D. St. Pierre Jr. versus Steve Harrison, case number 108981. Is Steve Harrison in the courtroom? Is Steve Harrison in the courtroom? He is not present in the courtroom. This matter was also set for a small claims hearing at 1 o'clock p.m. The time is 2:13 p.m. The file indicates that Steve Harrison was mailed a notice to appear for the small claims hearing on October 12th. The defendant failing to appear, the court is going to enter a default judgment in favor of the plaintiff in this matter. Damages will be $3,000. The court will add to that cost, consisting of a $65 filing fee and a $27 service fee, bringing the total amount of the judgment to $3,092. Okay, let's go back to case number 108982, the case of Cecil D. St. Pierre Jr. versus Carrie Davis. Mr. St. Pierre, do you have that lease with you?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
What I'll provide to the court is the lease from Satina Harrison for the amount of $600, the inventory checklist, and the rental certificate of property information, which indicates the logs and all the other problems with the house.
Do you have Mr. Davis's lease, or the one that he signed?
No, as I indicated to court, Mr. Davis, Steve Harrison, and Antoinette Combs took over for Satina Harrison because they related. They were also living in the property when Satina Harrison was there, and they just continued to reside in the property under these terms of $600 per month, whereby they would pay the water, gas, and electric pursuant to the terms and conditions.
So you don't have a lease agreement signed by this defendant, correct?
That's correct. I did not have, because they basically took over for Satina Harrison and lived on the property and paid rent for the period of time until I've indicated to the court. They're all residing on the property.
Well, why? I guess my question is, why should then Mr. Davis be held liable here? Did you have a landlord-tenant relationship with him?
Yes, he agreed, along with Steve Harrison and Antoinette Combs. The three of them agreed to pay me the $600 rent pursuant to the agreement I had with Satina Harrison. And as you'll note, Steve Harrison is related to Satina Harrison, and Antoinette Combs was living together with Steve Harrison, and Carrie Davis is the son of Antoinette Combs, and they're all living there with Satina Harrison. Satina Harrison had a drug problem. She left the property. They continued to reside in the property pursuant to these terms and agreement. And they did pay rent in the amount of $600, and it was basically on, as the court will note, under this agreement, it would expire after a period of 6 months, but they've agreed it would be on a month-to-month lease, and that's basically what I had, was a month-to-month lease with these individuals residing in the property. And there was a period of time in which they did pay rent in the amount of $600 while they resided there. I just want to let the court know how the circumstances came to where they were there basically on a month-to-month basis over that period of time, and in a period of time in which they failed to pay rent while residing there.
You have a lease dated October 18th, 2007.
That's correct. That was until Satina Harrison resided there until approximately July of 2009, when they basically took over her lease and agreed to pay me on a month-to-month pursuant to the terms of that lease, $600 per month, and to pay the water, gas, and electric.
Now, the plaintiff here sued 3 people, and 2 of those people didn't even show up, so the plaintiff wins automatically. It's this third defendant that we have to take a look at. My question, is there a written lease between plaintiff and defendant? Let's see what the defendant says.
Mr. Davis, what do you have to say?
I've got some paperwork here that's just invoices directed towards Steve. 2 out of the 3 are. One is to my mom, I never would have signed up. I moved in after they had came there. They were homeless prior to that. I lived in my friend's basement. I do come from a poor family, but I moved in afterwards after they were there. I lived on the couch. This is only a 2-bedroom house. My mom and Steve shared a room. My younger brother Ryan was the 4th person there, and he had his own room. I stayed on a couch there for about 6 months. My possessions all occupied one of the 2 closets in the hallway. And the utilities were in my name. I don't dispute that. I tried to help out as much as I could with what I could do, but in regard to the rent, I don't believe that I should be held responsible for somebody else's agreement.
When did you move in?
I moved in shortly in July after they did,
July of last year?
2009.
And you were there since when? Till when?
Right up until about when we left and we found another place.
When was that?
This was not in April, it was in June,
June of this year?
June 2010.
So you were there for 11 months.
I have something dated, yeah, June 2010. So then the 11 months that was there. I came in shortly after they had gotten the house and Satina had left and basically lived on the couch the whole time I was there.
Okay, did Satina leave at the time you moved in?
We came and cleaned up the house after Satina left. She did have a few problems going on in her life.
You and who?
I was with Steve
Okay.
when we came into the house to clean up. He had done construction work with Cecil.
Now, are you related to Satina Harrison?
No.
Okay, you're not.
My mom and Steve aren't married. They are been on and off for 10 years. No, nothing legal. It's just basically my mom's boyfriend. I don't affiliate myself with a lot of the stuff he does because it's not always in the best sense.
So you moved in and Satina Harrison was there for a little while, right?
We never lived in the house together.
She moved out when
She
you
was
moved.
about to lose the house, and they assumed the responsibility of the house.
Who's they?
Steve, on behalf of my mother, who's disabled.
Okay.
They took over the house and decided they would stay there. I said, okay, I'm living in a basement now. I can come help you guys put the bills in your name, obviously, because they couldn't do it. They had outstanding debt with their bills, but I stayed on the couch, did that, worked some of the time. I'm still unemployed right now, and that's basically it. I'm trying to go back to school.
Who lived there when you were there? When you were living there? Who was there
I
with
lived
you?
there. Steve and my mom had one of the rooms.
Okay.
The second room, my little brother lived in because he was still going to school.
Who was that?
Ryan Davis.
Okay.
He was a minor at the time.
Okay.
He's turned 18 since then, but that was the whole situation. They had enough room there for them to, and I slept on their couch rather than my friend's basement. I could contribute the utilities being in my name to the house.
So there were 4 of you there?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.